honoring the legacy of the Civil Rights Movement. Welcome to our video series, where we'll be celebrating National Black History Month by exploring the pivotal moments and figures of the Civil Rights Movement. This month, we'll delve into the stories of courageous individuals who fought tirelessly for equality and justice, leaving a mark on our nation's history. We're aware that recent narratives have attempted to discredit and tarnish the reputations of those trailblazers. However, we remain committed to sharing their stories, honoring their sacrifices, and highlighting their contributions to the advancement of civil rights. Throughout February, we'll be sharing powerful stories, insightful commentary, and rarely seen footage that showcases the bravery, resilience, and determination of civil rights icons. If you are looking for a nuanced and respectful exploration of this critical chapter in American history, you're in the right place. So join us on this journey as we pay tribute to the men and women who paved the way for a more just and equitable society. We're excited to share their stories with you and explore the lasting impact of the Civil Rights Movement. Part 1. The Long Walk to Freedom, the Civil Rights Movement in America.
So even though we face the difficulties of today and tomorrow, I still have a dream. It is a dream deeply rooted in the American dream. I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal.
We begin in the 1950s, a time when segregation and racism were deeply entrenched in American society. It was during this period that the NAACP began to gain momentum, with leaders like Thurgood Marshall and Rosa Parks playing key roles. The landmark Supreme Court case Brown versus Board of Education in 1954 marked a turning point in the movement. The court's decision to declare segregation in public schools unconstitutional paved the way for future challenges to Jim Crow laws. The movement gains momentum from 1960 to 1965. As the 1960s dawned, the civil rights movement gained momentum. The student-led sit-ins, which began in Greensboro, North Carolina in 1960, spread across the South, drawing attention to the injustices faced by African Americans.
You don't forget the faces, the names, the places, the date. I remember when we left on the Freedom Ride. I remember my first trip to Washington, D.C. to leave to go on the Freedom Rides in 1961, the same year that President Barack Obama was born. And I think a lot of young people growing up today, they don't think about it, that in 1961, black people and white people couldn't board a Greyhound bus, a Trailway bus in Washington, D.C., seated together to travel through Virginia, through North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, on our way to New Orleans. I remember so well the meal and what I ate the night before we left. You know, when growing up in rural Alabama, going to school in Nashville, and this book would tell you, I'd never been to a Chinese restaurant before, never had Chinese food. But the night of May 3rd, 1961.
See what I mean about the dates?
The group of us, the 13 Freedom Riders, 7 whites, 6 African American, went to a Chinese restaurant. It was a wonderful meal. They had the silver dishes and the cover dishes, the Lazy Susan, you know. And someone that night said, you should eat well because this may be like the Last Supper.
The Freedom Rides in 1961, led by CORE, the Congress of Racial Equality, sought to integrate public transportation, while the Birmingham Campaign of 1963 brought national attention to the brutal suppression of civil rights protests. The March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom in 1963 was a watershed moment, with Martin Luther King Jr.'s iconic "I Have a Dream" speech captivating the nation.
What do you want? What do you want? When do you want? Now is the time to make real the promises of democracy. Now is the time to make Selma, Alabama a better city. Now is the time. Transform Alabama, the heart of Dixie, to a state with a heart for brotherhood and peace and goodwill. Now is the time to make justice a reality for the possibility.
The final push, 1965 to 1968. The assassination of Martin Luther King in 1968 sent shockwaves across the nation, sparking widespread civil unrest. Despite this devastating loss, the movement continued, with leaders like Ralph Abernathy and Jesse Jackson carrying the torch. The Fair Housing Act of 1968 was passed in the aftermath of King's assassination, a testament to the movement's enduring legacy. The civil rights movement was a long and hard journey, marked by moments of triumph and tragedy. Yet through the courage and resilience of its leaders and participants, America was forever changed. So follow us for more videos on the civil rights movement.